You think your emotions are your friend. There's a little voice in your head. They're showing me the right path. They're making me sense danger. They want what's best for me. But the reality is the opposite. Most of the emotions you feel today serve not you, but your body's old programming. Biological programs developed thousands of years ago to protect against danger. You're no longer being chased by a wild animal. You no longer live in a cave. You no longer need to respond to survival instincts in seconds. But your brain is still stuck in those times. That's why the biggest battle in the modern world isn't about survival. It's about regaining control. Emotions are an echo, not a guide. Most of the emotions you feel today stem not from something happening right now, but from something you learned in the past. A sentence you heard as a child, a humiliation you experienced in adolescence, a past heartbreak. All of these unconsciously interpret present events. For example, if you get angry when someone criticizes you, it's not actually the words being said to you now. It's an echo of a sentence you heard years ago that was triggered. If you get upset when someone doesn't like you, it's not actually that person's opinion. It's an echo of a childhood feeling of inadequacy that has been revived. In other words, your emotions don't present you with a truth today. They only whisper the shadows of your past. The modern world requires a different kind of intelligence. For thousands of years, humanity has focused on three things: fleeing, fighting, surviving. Therefore, the emotional system in our brains is designed to be extremely sensitive, allowing us to make quick decisions in the face of danger. But in today's world, a message isn't a lion attack. The boss's gaze isn't a bare threat in the middle of the forest. A comment on social media isn't a matter of life or death, but our brains still carry that same sense of urgency. Everything feels like a threat. Every emotion feels like an alarm. Every warning feels like a great war call. That's why people today are slaves to their emotions. When you're angry, you lose control. When you're sad, you withdraw into yourself. When you're anxious, you miss opportunities. When you're hurt, you distance yourself from people. All of this isn't the work of the outside world. It's the product of ancient biological programming. The power your emotions have over you is an illusion. What actually happens is this: your emotions don't control you. Surrendering to them gives the impression that you are in control. When an emotion rises, what you actually possess is the power to think, the power to choose, the power to act, the power to reason, and the power to stop. These powers have always been there. You couldn't hear the voice of your emotions because they were speaking louder than you could hear. Your emotions are shouting through a megaphone. Your logic is whispering. But when you begin to hear the whisper, the direction of your life changes. If you allow your emotions to control you. When you can't manage your emotions, you unconsciously surrender control of your life to three things. 1. The primitive brain. The part that exaggerates danger, approaches everything as a threat, focuses only on the present. 2. Past traumas. The inner voice that interprets current events through old wounds, making you seem more fragile than you are. 3. Automatic habits. Anger, resentment, anxiety, jealousy. These are all records of behaviors repeated over the years. And in the end, you realize, I am a reactive robot. I am not selective. What happens when you learn to manage your emotions? Real change begins here. The moment you become aware of an emotion and can stop it, that emotion can no longer control you. You control anger, not the other way around. Anxiety doesn't suffocate you. You direct anxiety. Anger doesn't take over. You find a way out. This is what people call strong character. Strong people don't feel less. They just manage their emotions. When you control your emotions, people can't easily influence you. Your words become clearer. Your decisions become more accurate. Your relationships become healthier. Your self-confidence increases. Your self-esteem improves. Peace becomes your default setting. Emotions exist to serve you. Emotions are not enemies. The goal is not to eliminate them entirely, but to put them in their proper place. The functions of emotions are to warn you, to inform you, to make you aware, but not to control. The task of controlling yourself is yours. The important thing here is not to suppress your emotions, but to live in harmony with them. This is called emotional intelligence, personal strength, mental mastery, and it all begins in one place. When your emotions don't control you, when you live in harmony with them. Chapter 2. There is a hidden gap between emotion and reaction. There are many moments in a person's life that change their destiny, but most people aren't even aware of these moments. Because destiny isn't determined in moments of great decision. It's determined in that small gap between emotion and reaction. This gap can be shorter than a second, but its effect can last a lifetime. You hear a word, its tone is harsh. Your heart tightens. A wave of warmth rises in your chest. You see a glance. You feel disrespect. Something stirs inside you, shouting, "Respond!" A criticism comes. An alarm rings in your brain. Defend yourself. Silence them. Show them you're right, it says. And at that very moment, a door opens. The door between emotion and reaction. This door is so hidden that most people spend their entire lives unaware of its existence. That's why their lives repeat the same cycle. Triggered, explodes, regrets, gets angry at themselves, makes the same mistake again. But strong people, quiet people, people with unwavering character, are the ones who learn to see this door. This gap is small, but powerful. This gap is actually the most valuable area of the human brain. When emotion rises, the body wants to react quickly. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes difficult. Muscles tense. Adrenaline rises. Therefore, most people don't even notice this gap, because the biological system pushes you to say or do something. But the truth to know is, this push is not fate. It's just an invitation. You don't have to accept the invitation. Emotion comes. Yes. It hits. It strikes. It shakes. Yes. But what about the reaction? That's entirely in your hands. A person who sees this difference experiences the world in a completely different way. If you can pause, you win. When you develop the ability to pause for that 1 second, the moment an emotion arises, your life reaches another level. That 1 second can save your relationships, advance your career, open up great opportunities, protect you from unnecessary arguments, make you a respectable person. Because when you can pause, you take control of your emotions. You can choose your reaction. You decide what to say, what to do, what to ignore. You don't let others control you. You no longer act like a robot that starts working at the push of a button. A person who can pause is a free person. If you can't pause, you lose. What happens if you can't pause? Anger controls you. Anger erupts from your mouth. Fear slows your steps. Panic leads to wrong decisions. Ego ruins relationships. Haste misses opportunities. And in the end, you always say the same thing. I wish I had been a little calmer. When emotions cannot be managed, life cannot be managed either. A single word can ruin your destiny. A glance can destroy you. The consequences of a momentary reaction can last for years. Therefore, the highest awareness is this. My emotion at that moment may be real, but my reaction determines my destiny. Not reacting is not emotionlessness. This is very important. Suppressing, ignoring, denying emotions. This is never strength. Strength is being able to manage the emotion you feel. You get angry, but you don't yell. You get sad, but you don't fall apart. You get hurt, but you don't seek revenge. You worry, but you don't back down. That is true emotional mastery. This mastery provides a lifelong advantage. You control your emotions, not the other way around. Not reacting is self-leadership. Self-leadership is the most difficult type of leadership. It's easy to manage a group from the outside, but it's difficult to manage the anger within yourself. It's difficult to soothe your own anxiety. It's difficult to transform your own pain into common sense. That's why strong people lead from the inside, not the outside. They know this. Emotion is a guest. The guest comes, sits down, and tells stories, but you are the owner of the house. You decide how long it stays, what it does, and where it goes. No matter how intense the emotion, your will is stronger than it. The secret, known by the most successful people. The common trait of the top 1% is not intelligence. It's not hard work either. It's not even communication skills. What they have in common is this. Emotions come. They accept them. But they choose their own reactions. These people don't speak in anger. They don't act out of fear. They don't make decisions based on resentment. They determine their reactions not according to emotions, but according to their values, goals, and vision. Therefore, they make fewer mistakes. They regret less. They maintain healthier relationships. They see opportunities more clearly. They live life more consciously. Seeing this gap changes the direction of your life. The gap between emotion and reaction is a power that no one taught us as children, because no one told us to wait. Chapter 3. The invisible cost of emotional behavior. Every time you give in to your emotions, you're actually signing an invisible bill. And this bill doesn't come immediately. That's why people don't notice the damage. But the truth is, emotions last seconds, but their consequences last for years. A small moment, a big destruction. A moment of collapse, a moment of anger, a moment of panic. Just a few seconds. But the reaction you give in those seconds can change your relationships, your job, your reputation, your self-confidence, even your life path. A sentence you say while angry at someone can destroy the trust you've built over a decade in a single breath. Raising your voice in an argument can completely change the other person's perspective on you. A wrong decision you make in a moment of panic can deprive you of a path that will take years. And do you know what the worst part is? When that moment passes, the anger goes, the vulnerability lessens, the panic disappears, but the consequences remain. The price of emotional reactions, not emotions. Emotion isn't bad. Feeling is natural. However, acting on your emotions is the most costly way to learn about life, because emotions are temporary, but emotional behaviors are permanent. There are people you've lost because you said, I felt that way. There are relationships you've ruined because you said, I couldn't help it. There are opportunities you've destroyed because you said, I got angry. Each is a long shadow of a reaction. Things you lose without realizing it. When you act emotionally, you lose not only big things, but also small but critical things. The respect people have for you, the possibility of building trust, the weight of your word, your calm energy, your leadership qualities. And none of these will come back with the excuse of, I felt that way. Emotions are short-lived, but their scars last a long time. Anger lasts an average of 7 minutes. Resentment lasts several hours. Excitement lasts only a day. But a message sent in anger, the silence you maintain out of hurt, a wrong decision you make in panic, lasts months, years, sometimes a lifetime. Time erases feelings, but not actions. True power, being able to anticipate the outcome. Before reacting, true power lies in pausing for a moment and asking yourself these questions. When this feeling passes, will I want to live with this expression? Will this reaction embarrass me tomorrow? Is this anger worth it? What will this behavior gain or lose me? This perspective protects the future, not the emotion. Because a wise person experiences their emotion, but chooses their reaction. And this choice sometimes changes the fate of a lifetime. Chapter 4. Your brain is recording these things in memory. Every time you get angry, every time you explode, every time you get triggered, you think nothing is happening. But something huge is happening in your brain. The same emotional pathway is reopening and strengthening, like a path becoming more distinct when walking through a woods. The invisible software inside your mind is being updated. Your brain is recording every emotion, every reaction, every panic you experience as data. These recordings aren't just momentary, they form habits. You explode once, nothing happens. You explode a second time, it still doesn't seem important. On the third, fifth, 10th explosion, your brain says, so these are your natural reactions. Danger equals explode. Stress equals flight. Criticism equals defensive. And now your brain is starting to control you. Without realizing it, your subconscious goes on autopilot. Neurons connect, and these connections become habits. The scientific truth is, whenever you experience an emotion, the neurons in your brain associated with that emotion fire together. And every neuron that fires together tends to fire together in the future as well. So, when you get angry, the anger pathway strengthens. When you're sad, your anger thresholds drop. When you lose control, it becomes easier to lose. Your brain learns. Your brain repeats. Your brain speeds up. Then one day, you don't even need a big reason to be triggered anymore. Anger. Release. Like a gun on the trigger. That's why some people's anger is like a bullet ready in the barrel. A glance might be enough. A word might trigger it. A misunderstanding might start a fire. Because the brain has turned this emotion into a powerful reflex. This is dangerous because you're not in control. Your brain is on autopilot, and without even realizing it, the relationship is damaged. The atmosphere becomes tense. People's perception of you changes. You distance yourself from yourself. You say, I couldn't handle the reaction. In fact, what you couldn't handle wasn't the reaction, but the neural networks you've been strengthening in your brain for years. Subconscious message, I am weak. Every uncontrolled anger codes the following message into your brain. I can't stand it. I can't control myself. My reaction is stronger than me. I have no willpower. These sentences are recorded in your brain not as thoughts, but as behaviors. And over time, they form an identity. This is how I am. I get angry easily. They trigger me immediately. I'm impatient. Your brain imposes this identity on you, and you believe it. But the truth is, you didn't create this identity. You repeated it. This isn't your destiny. It's not ingrained in your genes. It's not mandatory. You simply repeated it. And repetition became a habit. Habit became personality. What trains your brain isn't the intensity of your anger, but its persistence. If you do something frequently, your brain registers it as default behavior. Therefore, unconsciously, the software in your brain is written like this. Wait, be ready to be triggered. Act at the slightest sign. React, then relax. This cycle continues until you change it. Uncontrolled emotion equals loss of power. Every emotional outburst in your brain steals a piece of your power. Every uncontrolled reaction erodes your self-confidence. Every trigger diminishes the leadership energy in your mind. Because the brain receives the same message every time. I can't control myself. This message affects every area of your life. Your relationships, your work life, your decisions, your self-confidence, even your physical health. Loss of emotional control isn't just a matter of behavior. It's also about brain programming. But the good news is, the brain can erase faulty programming. Similarly, calmness can be taught. When you manage not to react every time you are triggered, your brain records a brand new programming. I am strong. I am in control. I can make choices. Staying calm once is difficult. You try to stay calm a second time. It's still difficult. You try to stay calm a third time. The brain programming begins to change. And one day, anger doesn't control you. You control anger. This is the greatest gift a person can give themselves. Chapter 5. Your biochemistry is working against you. When an emotion erupts, you're not just angry. That's the outward appearance. Inside, an invisible avalanche is building up. Your biochemistry is on the rise. Just one thought, one word, one glance, and your body goes into fight or flight mode. Most people think, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm stressed. But the reality is far more complex. Your entire system becomes a slave to your emotions. Cortisol, the poison that silently clouds your mind. In the event of a trigger, cortisol rises rapidly. This hormone is designed to ensure your survival during stress. It was a perfect mechanism for our ancestors, because when they saw a tiger in the woods, they didn't have time to think. But today, you don't see a tiger. You only see a message, and yet your brain reacts as if there's a tiger there. Cortisol rises. Fuzzy thinking begins. Common sense disappears. The moment you say, I wish I could think a little more calmly, cortisol has already taken control. Adrenaline, the fast fuel that controls the body and paralyzes the mind. When an emotion erupts, adrenaline pumps. Your pulse quickens. Your muscles tense. Your breathing quickens. Your body prepares to fight. That's why your hands tremble when you argue. Your heart pounds like a fist. You break out in a cold sweat. Your voice rises uncontrollably. All of this is biochemistry taking center stage. At this point, logic, intelligence, education, personality are all pushed into the background because adrenaline doesn't think. It only reacts. Your brain shrinks. Your perspective disappears. During an emotional outburst, the prefrontal cortex, which governs your decision-making, darkens. Therefore, you can't make rational decisions in a bad moment. This is why you later regret things you said in that situation. How could I have said that? How could I have acted like that? That wasn't me. You're right, that wasn't you. That was a version of you that your biochemistry had taken over. Your thinking capacity is restricted because your body perceives danger. When stress hormones rise, the brain shifts most of its energy into survival mode. This reduces your mental capacity. Here's why. You can't do calculations. You can't think logically. You can't choose your words carefully. You can't solve problems. People were saying something scientifically true when they said, "He who rises in anger sits down in loss." Because anger has no logic, only biology. These chemicals don't disappear instantly. They accumulate in the body. The truth people don't know most is this. After an emotional outburst, your body doesn't return to normal in seconds. Cortisol circulates in your system for hours, sometimes days. That's why your nerves stay tense for so long. That's why you feel bad, even when you say, "It's over." That's why a small incident can ruin your whole day. Because the signal isn't in your brain, it's circulating in your blood. The domino effect. A small incident affects the whole week. This morning, you had an argument with someone before going to work. It only lasted 2 minutes. So why did you feel weird all day? Because the chemical flood is still going on. Here's why. An argument in the morning ruins your whole day. A single comment ruins your whole week. One misunderstanding casts a shadow over your entire month. This is no coincidence. This doesn't mean you're too sensitive. This doesn't mean you're weak. This is biochemistry. Your body hasn't forgotten what happened. You have forgotten, but your body hasn't forgotten. Emotional chain. Reaction. A small stone leads to a big avalanche. That's why most problems in your life start with a small problem. Because the problem isn't small. Its chemical impact is huge. A spark, a hormonal surge, and the day ends, the week ends, your energy runs out. You get angry at yourself. Then you get even more triggered. It's a cycle. And the only way to break this cycle is to learn to manage your biochemistry. But remember, biochemistry isn't your enemy. It's a trainable mechanism. You are the one who raises your stress hormones, but you are also the one who can lower them. When you learn to stay calm, when you manage not to react, when you take deep breaths, when you give yourself time, your biochemistry begins to work for you, not against you. This is your superpower, and once learned, it never disappears. Chapter 6. Emotional habits silently shape your life. Emotions aren't just temporary. Even if you're unaware, every emotion leaves a mark. Every reaction creates a new habit in your brain. People think, "I'm angry today. It will pass tomorrow." This is the biggest misconception. Emotions pass, habits remain. Your brain thinks what you do, frequently, is right if you always react to an event in the same way. If you always get angry easily, if you always get offended easily, if you always make decisions in a panic, your brain accepts this as the standard. After a while, this becomes your character. You start thinking, this is the kind of person you are. But the truth is, this isn't you. These are automatic reactions that your brain repeats over and over again. People are shaped by their habits, not their character. Anger accumulates, like grains of sand, but heavier than a mountain. Anger isn't experienced just once. Anger accumulates. Today someone says something, you get angry. Tomorrow someone honks in traffic, you get tense. The day after that, someone makes an unfair comment, you explode. What accumulates isn't the events themselves, but the loss of control. Anger becomes an ingrained behavior in your body without you even realizing it. It doesn't even need to trigger you anymore. Your body becomes a self-triggering machine, and you become an angry person. But you weren't an angry person. You just learned to be angry. Resentment also accumulates, a silent but toxic accumulation. Resentment doesn't shout as loudly as anger. Sometimes it doesn't even speak, but it's hidden deep inside. A word, an action, an omission. Each of these finds a place in emotional memory. Small resentments accumulate and become a heavy inner burden. Living like this, you distance yourself from people. You see sincerity as a threat. Your tolerance for relationships decreases. Even love becomes a burden. And in the end, you say, I'm not the same anymore. Yes, you aren't. Because a habit of accumulated resentment has formed in your mind. Anxiety also accumulates. A drop eventually turns into a lake. Anxiety isn't experienced only once. The brain loves anxiety because it wants to feel safe. One day, you worried about something. The next day, about something else. Then the slightest uncertainty begins to bother you. That's how anxiety becomes a habit. Your brain learns. Everything can be a potential threat. This is why your thoughts begin to cloud over. What if things don't go well? What if they hurt me again? What if I'm humiliated? What if I make a mistake? These questions don't arise by chance. They are automatic thoughts stemming from habitual anxiety. And the most dangerous thing, loss of control, accumulates. When you lose control, you say, okay, these things happen. A second time, you say, I guess I'm a little stressed. A third time, you say, I guess I'm just that kind of person. And here's the most critical threshold. After a while, the loss of control becomes normalized. At this point, your emotions begin to control you. You can't think when anger comes. You can't escape when anxiety comes. You can't stop when triggered. You respond with anger when hurt. Your emotions now determine your decisions. You are not the person you think you are. You are the sum of your habits. Self-confidence silently erodes with every loss of control. Every time control is lost, a piece of your self-esteem is torn away. When you yell in an argument, you say, I promised I wouldn't do that. And your inner voice whispers, you failed. When you give up on a goal out of fear, you say, I wish I had been braver. And your inner voice whispers, you didn't succeed. When you act hurtfully in a triggering moment, you say, I didn't want to be that person. And again, the same voice whispers, you're not in control. And so it goes. Your strong side remains silent. Your weak side takes control. No one witnesses it. It's a silent collapse, but it consumes you most from the inside. But the truth is, this isn't a character problem. It's a lack of training. You are not a bad person. You are not weak. You are not unbalanced. You simply haven't learned how to work with your emotions. Just as muscles are strengthened by exercise, emotional resilience develops with practice. And emotional habits, as they form, can be rewritten in the same way. The accumulation of loss of control is not fate. It is changeable. It is transformable. and it is manageable. Chapter 7. Emotional outbursts are the most damaging thing to relationships. Relationships aren't unbreakable. They're not made of glass. But they are surprisingly fragile to emotional outbursts. A bond takes years of effort, but sometimes just 10 seconds of anger is enough to break it. Every outburst is a withdrawal from the relationship bank account. In a relationship, trust, love, and commitment are like a bank account. Every kind gesture, every thoughtful act, every understanding is an accumulation. But what about emotional outbursts? They are withdrawals. Every time you yell at your spouse, every time you get angry at your child, every time you send an angry message to your friend, it invisibly withdraws money from that account. Sometimes a small amount, sometimes a large amount, but each time the account decreases, just like in real life. When the account is empty, the relationship doesn't end, but it becomes unusable. Trust is built slowly, but destroyed very quickly. It can take years for someone to trust you. A mistake, a rise in status, a loss of control can shake the foundation of trust. Because people misunderstand your weakest moments, not your angriest ones. When you have an outburst of anger, the other person thinks, "So this is what this person is like. So I'm not valuable to them. So this isn't a secure bond." Words are forgotten, but the emotion you conveyed is never forgotten. Distance is formed not from big fights, but from small hurts. It's not big arguments that end relationships. It's usually small things. A momentary raising of the voice, an unnecessary sarcastic remark, a thoughtless statement, an avoidable sarcasm, an unnecessarily harsh reaction. These don't instantly destroy the relationship, but they accumulate, grow, and break. That's when distance forms. They live in the same house, but they aren't side by side. They talk, but they don't connect. They laugh, but they don't feel. One day you look. The relationship isn't over, but the feelings are already dead. Children learn from your feelings, not your words. If you have children, remember this. They learn from your reactions, not your words. Every time you yell at a child, you write this message in their brain. I'm not good enough. I'm a troublemaker. I can't control my emotions. Children don't forget emotional outbursts. They are silent, but they leave a mark. And a more serious truth, emotions you can't control become wounds you carry into adulthood. Partners cannot feel safe around a triggered person. They want love. They want security. They want stability. Sometimes people can't cope, not because of a lack of love, but because of emotional storms. No one wants to be close to someone who is constantly tense, prone to sudden anger, and exaggerates small things. Because a constantly tense person makes you feel they could break at any moment. They could change suddenly. Their words can be hurtful. I can't be myself when I'm with them. And the deadliest feeling in a relationship is not feeling safe. There's a silent distance. The hardest distance to overcome relationships don't usually end with a loud explosion. Most relationships end quietly. One day, you realize there aren't even arguments anymore because there's no energy left to fight. At this point, people don't break up. They just bury their feelings. And this is the greatest death for a bond. A relationship may not end, but if the feelings are dead, that relationship is no longer sustainable. You suffer the greatest loss. You lose your self-esteem. Every time you explode with anger in a relationship, you find yourself saying things like, "I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I hadn't yelled. I wish I had been calmer. This isn't just regret. This is the slow erosion of your self-esteem. You get angry at yourself. Your self-confidence decreases. And one day, you don't even trust yourself. This is the invisible and heaviest price of emotional outbursts. But the good news, if emotional outbursts are learned, control can also be learned. Yes, every outburst draws money from the relationship's bank account, but every conscious moment is a new accumulation. Every calm moment, every pause, every breath, every stepping back in the face of a trigger. It repairs the relationship. It strengthens your emotional muscles. And it creates a new version of the relationship. Emotional outbursts are not fate. They are a lack of education. And this education, once learned, will both change you and improve your relationships. Chapter 8. The greatest harm is the harm you do to yourself. Losing emotional control is sending yourself a message. Every outburst of anger, every uncontrolled reaction. Actually, you're not just talking to those around you, but to yourself. I'm not strong. When you realize this, it starts like a small crackling sound. For a moment, you question your self-confidence. But every time you repeat the same message, this crackling sound turns into a hum, then a storm. Doubt grows like a seed. Initially, it's just a small doubt. Can I control it? But doubt doesn't come alone. Shame comes with it. Why did I react again? Why couldn't I stay calm? After a while, this duality engulfs you. Your self-confidence slowly erodes. Your willpower weakens. Your motivation diminishes. And without realizing it, the harm you inflict on yourself casts an invisible shadow over your relationships, your work, and your goals. The self-sabotage cycle begins. A small anger, a simple anxiety, a momentary panic. When you ignore these, a chain begins. When you lose control, you limit your subsequent decisions. Your self-confidence is shaken, and you can't believe in your own potential. You avoid taking the necessary steps to achieve your goals. Unconsciously, you hinder your own progress in many areas of your life, whether it's career, relationships, or personal goals. Every time you surrender to your emotions, you sabotage yourself. The brain codes, weakness. When you lose control, you send this signal to your brain. I can't stop. I'm not resilient. And your brain records this in memory. Neural pathways are reprogrammed. Each outburst of anger is more easily triggered. You repeat your old behaviors in stressful moments. It becomes more difficult to think calmly and strategically. At some point, it becomes a natural reflex. Emotional outbursts become an automatic response of your mind. Shame and self-doubt erode self-confidence. The shame that follows every loss of control is not just a temporary feeling. It weakens the foundation of self-esteem. It erodes self-confidence. And after a while, you tell yourself, I've always been like this. I can't change. This belief is the most dangerous because once it takes root in your being, it becomes very difficult to correct your behavior. It has consequences in every area of life. The harm you inflict on yourself doesn't just stay in your inner world. You avoid taking risky decisions. You fear outbursts in relationships and suppress your emotions. You become unwilling to achieve your goals. You experience long-term losses while avoiding short-term anxieties. A lack of emotional control silently shapes all aspects of your life. Power and self-confidence start from within. But here's the good news. Emotional reactions are a habit. Habits can be changed. Learning to control yourself stops the harm you inflict on yourself. Staying calm, pausing, thinking, and reacting consciously rebuilds your self-confidence. Every time you refrain from reacting, your brain strengthens. Your self-confidence returns. Your willpower develops. Instead of harming yourself, you begin to invest in yourself. Small steps, big transformation. This process doesn't happen quickly. However, every conscious pause, every breath, every step of awareness reduces the harm you inflict on yourself. In time, you will no longer be a prisoner of emotional outbursts. You will take control. Your self-confidence will return. You will emerge as a more effective, more determined, and stronger you in every area of your life. Chapter 9. You're in control. Your emotions no longer have to control you. Your anger, anxiety, resentment, they are all tools under your control. You don't have to react. It's up to you to stop, think, and choose your response. This awareness can reshape many areas of your life: work relationships, family ties, your self-confidence, how you achieve your goals, changing the rules of the game. Now you can change the rules of the game. You don't have to act with old reflexes. Choosing your responses isn't just a momentary boost. It's a long-term strategy to guide your life. Every pause, every breath, every conscious choice opens a new path in your brain. Emotional reactivity decreases and is replaced by a calm, powerful, and conscious habit of response. The question, are you ready? In light of all this information, the real question is, are you truly ready to be the leader of yourself? Being ready isn't just about knowing. Practicing means trying every day and continuing even if you make mistakes. Because inner strength and true self-confidence aren't built overnight. They're the sum of conscious choices. Small steps, big change. Remember, a brief pause, a moment to breathe. Controlling a reaction in a few seconds can prevent losses that will last for years. Every choice opens a new pathway in your brain. Every accumulation of habits makes you stronger. This is a simple but effective truth. You don't have to let your emotions control you. You can change the rules of the game.